Yo, what's going on, PV Nation? It's your boy, Lionel, class of 2009, back with another episode of PV versus everybody. And tonight, man, I wanted to get into this 2023 season preview. Take a chance to look at the roster this year, also look at the schedule and make our predictions for what we believe the Panthers are going to do this year, what we believe this team could go. This is definitely a veteran-laden team. I think we added some awesome pieces through the transfer portal and through the high school ranks. And so I'm really excited about this team doing some great things this year. I think if we can put it together, and one of the biggest challenges that I believe this team will have, and that this coaching staff will have to figure out, is how to put together a full 11-game season, like playing Prairie View football for 11 straight games. I think if we can do that, obviously, last year, at the end of the year, we also kind of got bit by the injury bug, and that definitely played a factor in us not being able to get back to a second straight SWAC championship game. But I think this year we have the team in place, we have the starters back in order to get us to the place that we need to go, and that we all believe that we should be at, right? So let's take a look at this year's 2023 season preview. And like I said, we're going to look at the roster, we're going to look at the schedule a little bit later on, and then we're going to make our prediction on the schedule as well. But before we jump into it again, right, I always remind you, make sure you subscribe to the channel for all things PB Nation. Make sure you're facing the place this weekend, man. Got Texas Southern on the schedule. We got to go in, man, and give them the business. Let them know that we run the SWAC West, right? And this rivalry, it ain't nothing rivalrous about this, right? So, man, appreciate you. Let's go ahead and check in, and let's jump into today's topic, this 2023 season preview. And we're going to start, man, in the most important room as far as how it's going to decide or where we're going to go. That's that quarterback room, right? Got mainly three primary, quarterbacks on the roster. Of course, Traezon Conley, who has been with the Panthers for the last few years. Obviously, he was the primary starter last year, and so he had the head start as far as this year's QB battle. But I love what Coach Mark Frederick, Coach Bubba McDowell said as well, entering into the spring, that, hey, this is going to be an open competition. Nobody, has this position locked up. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is going to be an open competition, and we're going to give everybody a chance to come in and win this position. And I think what that is creating and has created is the best of all of these QBs, right? I think everybody is going to be at the top of their game, and competition only help, right, to make you to reach your full potential. And so, of course, Jaden Johnson was brought in from Coahoma Community College, to challenge CJ Dumas and Traezon Conley to push down, make them better. And from what I've been hearing, man, it's been a very, very good spring and fall camp for these QBs. And so excited to see, this room throughout this year. And I think one thing for sure that this room has the ability to have individuals step in. Last year when Traezon was out for the Incarnate Word game, I definitely think that put us behind the 8 ball. And when we kind of had those injury nicks, it definitely caused the issue. I mean, I remember Chris Herron also got some play at QB because of that, right? And so I think this year we're definitely in a better position to be able to deal with even an injury bug if it comes. I think these quarterbacks can all do some similar things. Definitely Jaden Johnson, as far as his skill set, very similar to Traezon's from what the film shows. And so I think that's going to be great as far as being able to keep the game plan the same, but be able to actually bring someone in that can continue to keep the team moving forward, right? That's super important when you got high goals that I think this team got this year, which is SWAC championship game and Celebration Bowl, right? So, of course, I believe Traezon is going to be the day one starter. I think he's put in the work, and I think he is going to be the one under center for the Panthers that you're going to see this upcoming weekend against TSU. But I also think, like I said, right, if we have to go to a backup, like I think this year, the backup room is way stronger than it was last year, and so we're definitely in a good position for not just this year, but also years to come because both CJ and Jaden both are sophomores, and so that's great for us having those QBs that's going to be in this room even for this year as Trezon takes the rim, but we got those two quarterbacks that are sitting there and they're going to be ready to step up and compete again next year, right? So that we can continue to keep this thing going. But let's move on to by far one of the strongest rooms. It is probably the strongest room on the team. It's the running back room. Um, with Double A, Ahmad Antoine, Caleb Johnson, who of course we know transferred in from Mississippi Valley, Connor Wisham coming back. We also got Jamarius Brooks coming back, and with the freshman from Louisiana, you know what it is. You know how we do over in the boot. Him bringing his talents over to PV as well. I think, man, this is a very, very strong room here. Like this is probably the best and the strongest room on the team across the board. And I think they're going to do some great things because combined with the offensive line, which we're going to see in a second, which we're bringing back, all five. We're bringing back almost everybody, right? I believe Coach Frederick said 8 out of the 9 starters are going to be back this year, and the starting line is going to be basically individuals who saw a lot of playing time last year, and so it's really going to be a seamless transition as far as the running game. Of course, we led the SWAC in rushing last year, and going to look to do the same again this year with over 205 yards a game. And so I think we're going to be able to do the same again this year. Last year had 29 touchdowns in that running back department, and I think we can put up similar numbers while also increasing what we do in the passing game because I think that's what people are going to see us be able to add on to this year. Last year we were definitely super super run heavy, and I don't think we should get away from that completely. Obviously, abandon that completely, but we got to be able to keep teams honest. And of course, with the new rules and the running clock, it's going to be important to control the clock, right? And having a great run game puts us in a way better position to get in and out of games with the W, which is the most important thing, right? So, got the running back room, man. That's going to be very, very strong this year. So definitely be on the lookout for this room to really make some noise. Now, this next room, the wide receiver room, this is what I'm excited about because I really think this year Coach Frederick is going to open up the offense a little bit more and give Trezon, an opportunity to show what he is as a passer. And I think even Trezon, from what I've been hearing, he's really wanting to take the opportunity to not just be dynamic and use his legs, but to use his arms and show that he can win games with his arms. And again, like I said earlier, I don't think we need to abandon our strength, which is the running game, which is that offensive line. But I do think that you're going to probably have 1 or 2 games throughout the year where you are going to have to lean on your passing game a lot more in order to win. And so you have to have the ability, right, to get the ball to playmakers right out in open space, to be able to make some big plays down the field. And then I really, really think we got the personnel this year to do that, right? Of course, we add the grad transfer, Juice Jenkins from Alabama A&M. That's a huge pickup just from a standpoint of somebody who's had played big games in the SWAC, who's won, who understands what it takes. Bringing him in with somebody like Caleb Johnson in that running back room, I think that's important, right? To even just show what it takes, right, to be special in the SWAC and to show some of the other receivers what that's like. Of course, we added Shamar Savage from Mount San Antonio College. That's a huge, and he's 1 or 2 additions from Mount San Antonio College. A huge, huge guy, right? At 6'4", over 200 pounds, right? I think that gives you a really big target. And so I like how we went out in the wide receiver room and brought in a lot of bigger targets for Trezon to have, right? For the quarterback room to have to throw through. Also, we got returning Jaquan Bloomfield and also Trezon Spiller. I think, again, right, because of what Coach Frederick, I think, is going to seek to do this year, you're going to see a lot more from these individuals this year. Also, in that wide receiver room. Of course, we got Chris Herring coming back. I mean, dynamic playmaker there, right? Of course, you give him the ball in space. You saw what he did, Bethune-Cookman game, right, and some of those. And so, definitely got to get the ball to him as one of your playmakers. Of course, Christopher Simmons brought in also Raheem Morris and a Mekhi Metcalf, right, too, again, to add to that size in that room. And so I'm loving the size across the board in the receiver room and what it gives us opportunity to do now, on the outside as well as from the slot. So we're going to be able to see, hopefully, be able to take advantage of teams through the air this year, where a lot of times last year we didn't. Some of the, I think, times and plays I've seen as I've kind of looked at some of the old film, is just the reality, right? We didn't have big targets to throw to either, right? And so I think having bigger targets across the board are going to help you out, right? It's a lot easier to hit a target the bigger it is, right? Let's just be honest, okay? So definitely want to give a chance for to help those quarterbacks out. And also, what I'm looking for this room to do too is, at the end of the day, is to make catches and to make contested catches. One thing that I saw last year is, man, we had a lot of drops, a lot of contested drops and a lot of wide open drops. And so, if we can be more secure with the ball, I think that's going to get us to the place where we need to be, right, to keep the chains moving on some drives where, now it's a 3 and out, right? Or now we, could have been in scoring distance, but, now we got to bring the punt unit on because of a drop, right? And so I'm really hoping to see that, we have cut down on that with a lot of the individuals that we brought in, that they're a lot more sure-handed. And so excited about that. The other room I'm excited about, right, especially talk about from a receiving and a pass block, from a run blocking standpoint, is this tight end room. And so having Dylan Domel come back, right? We got Marcus Whitaker, who's a grad student, as well as David Murray and Nicholas Jackson in the room too. But these, especially these first two individuals, right? I'm looking for them to not just be playmakers in terms of creating opportunities for people to have to make plays, running the ball, but I'm also excited about them being able to also make plays in the passing game as well, because both of them are dynamic, right, as pass catchers too. And I think a lot of teams use their tight ends in the passing game as a strength. And hey, man, I think that can be a great outlet for Trezon this year, right? To make sure that's a part of the game plan in general, period, right? With the offensive coordinators, just to make sure that these guys are not just a part of the run game, but they're part of the pass game too. And so I'm excited about, since I know we're going to we'll see a lot more in that area this year, to see how they use the tight ends in different formations in order to get them open, right? So let's move on to the offensive line. So we got the offensive line who was coming back, and man, like it is stacked across the board from an offensive line standpoint. So we got all of the individuals returning to the team, and so this is where the beef is. This is the foundation and the core behind averaging over 200 yards rushing, having over 29 touchdowns last year. And so again, I think we need to lean on them again this year in order to have the same and similar type of production with again, backs who are proven in this conference already, with AA and Caleb Johnson, and then also some dynamic backs as well that make up the rest of their room. And so these are the core guys who are going to make that happen right across the board. Eric Dunn, Arrington Taylor, Chance Jones, Kobe Lewis, Allen Jones Jr., right? As you see, right, all seasoned vets on this line, right? All seniors, redshirt seniors, or grad students, right? And so these guys have played a lot of games, put in a lot of work in terms of SWAC hours. We also got, some backups, Kevin Tyler, right? Kamari Stewart, Stephen Thomas, right? We got also transfer over from Sam Houston, Trevor Jacks, right? Who's going to come in to put in some work. And so I'm really excited about this offensive line, right? And super excited about what's being done and about what the coaches continue to do to make sure that, that Prairie View continues, right, to be at the top of the conference when it comes to offensive line play. Last year, of course, we gave up the least amount of sacks of all of the other institutions, And so I'm excited to also see them again create those pockets that are needed, so that we can get the ball into the hands of some of these playmakers that we have as well. And so, just again looking at what was done last year, I think they have that ability not just to run block, but they also have that ability to pass block as well. And so, Coach Green has done a great job with that unit. So, moving forward, right, the defensive line, right? When we talk about the defensive line, man, I know people have talked about how, as a team we've lost a lot, right? And that's the feeling, that's the thought process. But man, I think the coaches have done a tremendous job of bringing in a lot of transfers over into this room, right? Bringing people in who are going to be able to add to what we already have. And this is like one of the units I'm really interesting interested and excited to see how it works and how it turns out, because I think you got a multiplicity of defensive linemen that you're going to be able to bring in and switch in and out and use in different packages. And so a lot of bodies that you're going to be used to be able to stay fresh. And of course, with the new rules, right? You're probably not going to have as many plays as usual, right, with the running clock now this year in the NCAA. But still, having all these bodies, man, you're gonna be to go to is gonna be great, right? So Calvin Presley, of course, coming over from Villanova. Got Braylon Perry, who was a transfer in. Stephen Shaw coming in from Louisiana Tech, right? Of course, Miles McHaney, who's again returning on the team. We also have the Davier Farrow coming over from Morehead State, right? Derek Ray Jr. returner, got Jamal Marshall, and then Jackson Bailey, who's coming over from ULM, right? So again, man, I mean, this room has really been beefed up, and it's gonna be awesome to see what this room does this year. We also have Michael Nabusi, got Jabez Oliphant, who's also transferring, Jaden Rout, and also Tiago Sumbo, who also is a transfer in too. So they've done a great job to add to this room, man, and also to beef it up too, right? I mean, when you look across the board of the size of this defensive line room, man, I'm loving what I'm seeing. And I'm thinking that one thing that I saw last year that I'm hoping we can do a better job of is stopping the run. I think we didn't do a great a job of stopping the run. And so, that may also play into the 4-2-5 that we're using, as a defensive scheme. But, I think we're going to be able to do a way better job of stopping the run this year than we did last year. So let's move on to, I think, what is the power unit of the defense, which is that linebacker core, right? Man, across the board, that linebacker core is powerful. I think this is the strength of the defense last year, and I think it's also going to be one of the primary strengths of the defense this year as well. So, of course, I got Keyshawn Johnson, grad student, coming back, Warren Schenkel, Travion Green, Kendon Jones, and also Jeremiah Harris, right, who was hurt a little bit previous years, right, but looks like he's going to be healthy and ready to go, man. And so across the board, you got all these individuals who have played alongside one another, who I think going to be able to now take it to another level, right? It's all about communication, what I'm saying, especially on the defensive side of the ball. And so being able to have, this core linebacker unit to be able to have been played together, so much in previous times is going to help you so much when you're talking about being able to be this elite defense, that we really want to see the Panthers be this year. And of course, the way that they're used in this 4-2-5 scheme, right, allows for them to be very interchangeable. Now, I mean, seeing how Coach used them last year, I think is again going to be give a chance to get a lot of them on the field and get a lot of them on the field at the same time, because these are some of your best playmakers, right? These are some of your best athletes here. And so you definitely want to make sure that you have them on the field as much as possible. So moving on to the last unit, right? It's the defensive backs right now, and I'm really excited to kind of see where the cornerback battle goes. Who really sees the field as far as corners are concerned? But of course, when you talk about your free safety, when you talk about your strong safety, Tyreek Mulmore, of course, I mean, has been tried and true for you. One of your leading tacklers on the team, and so he's back for another year. You also got Stacey Brown back, who was a little nicked up and hurt throughout the year last year, right? So we're praying that he's going to be healthy throughout the whole year this year, right? To be one of your anchors on your defense of your defense, right in the back. Of course, we got the transfers in, Freddie Bird III, and also Ahmad Robinson coming over from Arkansas State, of course. And so, I'm excited to see this cornerback battle where it lands us, because I think we got a lot of talent, and we got a lot of length now too. When you talk about cornerbacks, you also, of course, got Bryce Turner, and also seatbelt DeJuan Lewis, right? Who coming back again, right? Who had a lot of playing time last year, and I think again, when you talk about all these dynamic playmakers, right, between the linebackers, between your, especially your rover, your safety, right? There's a lot of interchangeable pieces there, right? And so you're going to be able to stay fresh, as far as defense is concerned. But like I said, I'm interested to see between, Ahmad Robinson, Mekhi Mercer, Malachi Harrison, et cetera. These cornerbacks, what can we do there, right? Are we going to have the ability to lock up on the outside so we can put a lot more intricate blitz packages together, for example, right? Because I think that's one thing that I believe Coach Bubba would like to do, but you got to have the personnel to do it at the end of the day, right? And so we're going to get a chance to see what it looked like, of course, coming up this weekend. But yeah, man, that's one of the exciting units that I'm definitely looking forward to check out. And of course, you got special teams. We got the two kickers, Carlos Villagomez, Guillermo Rodriguez. We also got Ephraim Jeso and also Benjamin Stewart as your long snapper. And so hopefully this unit also can be able to give us, put us in a position where, man, as soon as we're crossing over the 50, right, we're in territory where we can at least put points on the board. Because I think that's something that's going to be dynamic for any team in the SWAC. And I mean, if you got a kicker that can be pretty solid, then that always is going to put you in a position to where you can win games. So, that's the roster breakdown, man. And now I just wanted to get into just the schedule for this year. You guys, I know you've seen the schedule time and time again, right? But I just wanted to go through it and just give my prediction for the year on what I think we can do and what we will do, right? And I'm trying to be as realistic as possible, right? Because I'm definitely very optimistic all the time, but I also want to be realistic too, right? You know what I'm saying? So, of course, starting off with the Labor Day Classic this weekend, got Abilene Christian coming through, then SMU, Alcorn, Graham, Valley, got them at home, got Houston Christian. We got a homecoming game at FAMU, right, on October 28th. Then we come home for our homecoming against UAPB, have Southern and Alabama State. And first and foremost, right, before I get into the prediction, I actually love this schedule. I love this schedule for us as PB Nation because the reality is we got 2 games in Dallas and we got 2 games in Houston outside of the 4 home games. Like the way this schedule lines up to me as far as us being able to get out and actually show support as alumni, man, you got your 2 bases. You basically got 8 games where your base is available, right? 2 games in Dallas. We've got 6 games basically between Prairie View and Houston. Come on, man. Like, that's awesome. I mean, Houston Christian, I mean, we should basically take over that stadium. I mean, we should just take it over, right? I mean, that should be basically a home game. We obviously know the Labor Day Classic this weekend is going to be a home game because TSU don't do nothing. They don't sell out nothing. You know what I'm saying? So that's going to be a home game. And Houston Christian is going to be another home game in Houston. And then we got the 2 Dallas games. So to me, I'm like, man, I'm actually love how this schedule has lined up. Now, as far as what I think we're going to do this year, I think the games that I'm concerned about, right, on this schedule are the game against Abilene, which of course is an out of conference, non-conference game. I think that's a game we should win, right, at home. We were in that game last year, and I think this team is stronger than it was last year, especially on the offensive end. And I think it's going to be more dynamic. And so I really think that's a game we should win, but I also know that it could be a trap game, right? Especially coming off of the Labor Day Classic this weekend. And so that's one game that I have that's a little worried for me. Of course, Alcorn always is a tough game for us every single year. We've been so close against them the last couple of years and haven't brought that game home. And so Alcorn is another game that I'm worried about as well as the Alabama State game. Just because of where it is at the end of the year, I'm happy that it's not. I'm happy that it's not the week of Thanksgiving, though, and so I really hope that we never schedule games during the week of Thanksgiving ever again for the rest of for the rest of the time that PV plays football. Like, we never should schedule games during Thanksgiving week. I think we found that has been some of the least attended games, period, across the board. So I'm happy that the game is the week before that. But I mean, of course, we know how we've been at the end of seasons, right? And so the thing I am excited about, though, is that Southern is toward the end of the season, because that's a game that, of course, the team, the university, the alumni gets up for. That's not a game. That's not like a Valley at the end of the season or a UAPB at the end of the season that you're kind of going. You feel like you're looking down going toward that game, right? I think because of kind of the rivalry that's been there between us and Southern throughout the past years, that's a game that the team and the alumni are going to get up for. And so that's not going to catch you by surprise. So I'm actually happy that that game is toward the back end of the schedule. And I'm hoping that's going to keep us consistent throughout the length of the schedule all the way through, right? So those are the games I kind of have that are circled that I'm like, those are kind of games that I feel like could go either or, just because of the where they land. But my prediction, man, for us this year is that I think we're going to go 8-3. I really think we're going to go 8-3. Of course, SMU, I have that down as a loss. I do have FAMU as the other loss, right? Though I believe every game we play this year is a winnable game. Like, if we play to our potential, I think we have the potential to win every game outside of the SMU game, right? But that game, FAMU, Bragg Stadium, homecoming, right? Like, okay, I can see us dropping that game as well. And I also think that Abilene is a trap game, right? And so between that one and the Alabama State game, right? Now, we've had, of course, a streak over Alabama State the last, I believe, like 6 years in a row now, right? So we've had Alabama State's number. They don't have anything on that team, to me, that scares us, right? And so I think we still should be able to get out of that game as long as we're still playing PV football, right? So those are the three games that I have us dropping this year, which means that we will be 6-1 in conference. I'm sorry, 7-1 in conference, right? Again, even if we have a 2-loss, 6-2 in conference record, I still think that's good enough, depending on where that falls and who that loss is to. I think that still can put us in a position where we still could be SWAC West champions, right? Last year, if we would have just won one other game, you know what I'm saying? If we could have just finished off Valley, right, at the end of the year, we would have been back in the SWAC championship. And so I don't think this team is anywhere farther than where they were last year. I actually think this team is in a better position than they were last year with some of the dynamic pieces that they brought in. And so I got us going 8-3. And I, of course, think that means that we're going to be in the SWAC championship game. And I think that's going to be a rematch against FAMU, right? I think SWAC championship game, rematch against FAMU, right? I also believe that because of how the records land, I think FAMU is also going to drop. I think FAMU is going to lose more than one game this year too, right? Even though I got us losing to FAMU early in the season, I think FAMU is actually going to drop more than one game, right? And so it could line up that this SWAC championship game could be back at Panther Stadium, right? And so if we can get it back at Panther Stadium, I think we win that game, right? Yeah, I do have us losing it at FAMU's homecoming, but if we can get this SWAC championship game and it's a home game for us because of virtue of our better record in the SWAC, I think we win that game, right? That means, hey, we get to go on to the Celebration Bowl. And I think, North Carolina Central is definitely going to come out of there, right? And then, let the chips fall where they may, right? Of course, I'm putting my chips, I'm going all in on the Panthers, right? But, man, that's what I got this year. Again, I got us going 8-3. I think we make it back to the SWAC championship game. I think this team is more dynamic on the offensive end than they were last year, especially in the passing game. And I think we're going to see some of that in this weekend's game. Even though, like I say, I don't think Coach Fred should go away from our strength which is our offensive line, right, in our running back room. But we're going to talk more about that, right, when we do a preview of the Labor Day Classic on Friday. So make sure you guys come back and check that out, right? But again, thank you guys for coming and jumping over, right, checking out this 2023 season preview. Of course, man, leave your comments. Let me know what you think. Let me know who you think is going to be the standout this year, right? Especially with all the transfers we got in on the defensive side of the ball, man. Who you think is going to stand out for the Panthers this year and really make noise? So make sure you guys subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Of course, if for more PV versus everybody, we also got the volleyball game tomorrow. If it's available, I'm going to try to go show that live too as well, so we can continue to support Coach Lindsay, man. She got them girls playing out their mind right now, starting off 2-1. Let's see if we can have at least another 2-1 weekend as well in this next tournament that's coming up. But in the words of my Antoine, I'm gonna leave you like this.
They said it's a classic. Ain't nothing classy about this. They said it's a classic. Ain't nothing classy about this. They said.
All right, man. I'm gonna holler at y'all. I'll see y'all later. God bless.